Okay, so digital cash. That's actually, stable. Not like Bitcoin going on a roller coaster, but like a digital dollar that actually stays a dollar.
Right, right.
That's the whole idea behind stablecoins, right? And today we're diving deep into one that's got everyone talking. FDUSD. We've got the white paper right here. And, well, let's just say it's a bit of a beast.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's why we're here.
exactly. What's got everyone so interested is that, it's not just the crypto nerds who are excited about stablecoins anymore. It's like they're bridging that gap between, the old financial system and this new world of blockchain.
Right, because who wouldn't want like super fast transactions, cheaper fees, maybe even a global currency at some point?
Uh-huh.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's like break this down. What does the white paper actually say about how FDUSD works?
Well, it all comes down to trust. And this white paper, they really want to make sure you get that. So basically, FDUSD uses this one-to-one backing system. Think of it this way. Every single FDUSD out there, there's an actual US dollar sitting in a reserve, and it's all independently verified.
So there's no way like FDUSD could just suddenly crash because of, speculation or the market going crazy.
Right.
That's reassuring, especially with how volatile, cryptocurrency can be. But this backing, it's more than just a promise, right? How do we know it's actually happening?
That's where transparency comes in. And they do this in a couple of cool ways. First, they've got these independent auditors, right? They're constantly checking, making sure those reserves are really there. Plus, and this is pretty neat, they've got this thing called a transparency page. Anyone can go online and see all the details of these reserves for themselves.
Wow, talk about accountability. You don't see that very often, even in, traditional finance.
Right.
But let's get down to the why. Why even create FDUSD? What are the benefits that have people so excited about this?
The white paper paints this picture of a financial system that's more inclusive and way more efficient.
Mm.
Take remittances, for example,
Mhm.
sending money across borders.
Don't even get me started.
Exactly. The fees are insane. You wait forever.
Yeah.
FDUSD could completely change all that.
Now that is something I can get behind. I've got family overseas, and just thinking about like sending them money without the headache, it's a game changer. But the white paper mentions even bigger things, like this whole DeFi thing. I'll admit that one's got me a little lost.
Yeah, DeFi, short for decentralized finance. Now that's where things get really interesting. Imagine a financial system with, like, no banks, no middlemen,
Whoa.
and FDUSD. It could be a major player in that world.
Okay, so we're talking about like lending, borrowing, earning interest, all on the blockchain using FDUSD. It sounds almost too good to be true. Which brings us to the other side of the coin. What are the risks? What does the white paper say about that?
To their credit, First Digital, they're very upfront about the potential downsides. Let's be real. Even though FDUSD is all about stability, there's always some risk, like any financial product. One thing they highlight is operational risk. Things like cyber attacks, vulnerabilities in the system, stuff that keeps anyone in the digital world up at night.
Yeah, cybersecurity is definitely a big concern these days. Feels like every other day there's some news story about a hack or a data breach. So what's FDUSD doing to like address those concerns?
Well, they talk a lot about, having really strong security and constantly auditing their systems. But what I found really interesting is how much they emphasize working with regulators, not trying to go around them. Like,
Hmm.
they understand that for something like FDUSD to really take off, it needs to be on solid ground with regulations.
It makes you wonder, though, does that kind of go against the whole, decentralized idea of DeFi?
Yeah, that's the big question. And the white paper, it actually addresses that tension. They make the case that some regulation can actually be a good thing,
Okay, how so?
or it can increase trust and security. And
Right.
ultimately, that just makes it more appealing to the average person, right?
Makes sense. Because at the end of the day, most people just want to know their money's safe. Speaking of which, this whole discussion about FDUSD, stablecoins, it feels like kind of huge. But what does it actually mean for the average person? Are we all going to be using FDUSD to buy groceries in 5 years?
It's definitely possible. I mean, think about it. We're already moving more and more towards digital transactions, right? FDUSD and stablecoins, they're like the next logical step. Making cross-border payments as easy as, like, sending a text. Imagine going on vacation and paying for souvenirs without even thinking about exchange rates.
Oh, that would be amazing. But you mentioned earlier that FDUSD could have a big impact on developing countries. What did you mean by that?
Well, there are millions of people around the world who don't have access to banks,
Right.
right? Stablecoins, they're all about easy access and using mobile technology. So they could actually provide a way for these people to participate in the global economy, something that just wasn't possible for them before.
That's an angle I hadn't really considered. It's like skipping over all the outdated financial systems and going straight to the digital age. But are there potential downsides for those communities? Could widespread stablecoin use create new problems?
That's a really important question, one that often gets lost in all the excitement. While there's huge potential for good, we have to think about unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not implemented carefully, could stablecoins actually worsen existing inequalities or even create new forms of financial exclusion?
So it's not just about the technology itself, but how it's used and who benefits from it in the end. It sounds like First Digital is aware of these issues, though. The white paper even talks about their background in traditional finance. What's their story?
It's actually pretty interesting. First Digital, they're not like some brand new tech company trying to shake things up from the outside. They've been a major player in Asian markets for years, really entrenched in traditional banking.
So they're bringing knowledge from both worlds to this.
Exactly. And that really comes across in how they're approaching FDUSD. It's not just about the tech. It's about regulation, compliance, building trust within the system that already exists.
Which, let's be honest, that's crucial if something like FDUSD is going to be accepted by the mainstream. People need to know their money is secure and that this isn't some risky gamble. But speaking of risk, we've talked about the positives of FDUSD, the challenges, the tech, even First Digital's unique position. What about the big picture? Where does FDUSD fit in with everything else happening in stablecoins and the future of finance? So we've looked at what FDUSD is, how it works, but this whole thing, it really makes you think, what if this is it? What if this is the future of money? What if stablecoins like FDUSD really become the new normal?
It's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it. Imagine sending money across the world as easily as firing off a text message. Super low fees, practically instant. That's the kind of future FDUSD is pointing to.
That would be incredible, especially for like developing economies, places where the financial systems aren't as advanced. But let's bring it down to earth for a second. How would this affect like everyday life for the average person?
Okay, picture this. You're at a market, maybe somewhere overseas. You find some amazing, unique stuff you want to buy, and you just pay for it right there with FDUSD from your phone. No more trying to find an ATM or figuring out exchange rates.
It'd be like having a universal digital wallet. Would we even need banks in that kind of world?
Now, that's a really interesting question. While FTUSD is designed to work within the current system, if it's successful, it could lead to a much more decentralized future. Think about it. Accessing financial services loans, investments all on the blockchain, powered by FDUSD. This could be huge for people who don't have easy access to traditional banking.
We're talking about a fundamental change in how we use and think about money. But like you said before, we got to consider the potential downsides. What happens to financial security and regulation in a world with widespread stablecoin use?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the white paper, to their credit, acknowledges that. There are legitimate concerns about potential for misuse money laundering, maybe even destabilizing effects on traditional currencies. And that's why First Digital's emphasis on strong regulation is so important.
It's a real balancing act, trying to encourage innovation, but also make sure things stay safe and stable. I keep coming back to First Digital's background. It's really interesting. They seem to be in a really good position to navigate this whole new world.
Definitely. They're not treating this like some revolution, some tech that's going to completely overturn everything. They seem to see it as more of a bridge between the old way of doing things and the potential of blockchain. All that experience they have, those relationships with regulators, it's going to be crucial as this space develops.
It does feel like we're watching a new financial system being born, doesn't it? And even though there are still so many unknowns, one thing's for sure, stablecoins like FDUSD are making us rethink what money even is, what it means in our increasingly digital world.
Exactly. And that, I think, is what makes this whole thing so fascinating. We're not just talking about new technology. We're talking about potentially changing how we interact with the global economy.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on FDUSD, I'm left with one question. What role will you play in shaping this future of finance? Will you be watching from the sidelines or diving in head first? It's something to think about as we continue exploring this uncharted territory together. Until next time, keep those questions coming, keep learning, and keep on diving deep into the fascinating world of finance and tech.